The scene that we have chosen for our video essay starts with our main character, Uxball. Some background information should be covered first so that the scene is fully understood. Uxball finds out that he has pancreatic cancer that cannot be treated. He is a dying man who can communicate with the dead. Uxball also acts as an anti-hero throughout the film. He serves as the middleman of an illegal street vending business that makes and sells fake luxury clothing to tourists. He is essentially a street hustler. After the clothing is finished and ready to sell, Uxball then sells them to African street vendors. The building that serves as a sleeping quarters for the Chinese workers that create the clothing gets very cold at night. Uxball wants to change this, so he goes out and purchases heaters for the workers so that they can stay warm. Uxball does not have much money, so the heaters that he buys for the workers aren't very efficient. In the context of the movie itself, this scene serves as a crucial turning point in the life of Uxball. Not only does this scene point towards the ending of the movie, but in many ways, this is the climax of the tale. Uxball struggles with death and decay from the very beginning of the movie, and this is exactly how the movie plays out. We see Uxball try to control everything, including his kids and the people he manages, and after his fatal diagnosis, we see him lose hope in controlling the uncontrollable, and death is just one of those very things. We see him try to conquer his own death, and then also suffer with the loss of other people's lives around him. The interesting thing about Uxball is his seemingly normal ability to communicate with and read the minds of the dead. This special connection manifests itself throughout this movie and is crucial to this specific scene in the movie. Another huge storyline we wish to highlight in our essay is the importance of money. In this scene specifically, money seems to be the reason that everything falls apart. Since Uxball saw the need to help out the illegal immigrants by buying them a heater, he was trying to do the right thing, going out of his way to help these people.
The scene that we chose starts the morning after he installs the heaters for the immigrants. Here, we see Uxball come to find that the heaters actually emitted dangerous toxins into the air, which ends up killing all of the workers. Uxball becomes filled with guilt and cannot believe what he has accidentally done. The shop owner who lends Uxball the money to help these people simply does not give him enough money to buy a quality heater. So Uxball buys what he can, and because of the gas leak and the cheap heater and lack of ventilation where they're sleeping, it kills almost all of these Chinese immigrants. If Uxball had more money, the situation could have been avoided altogether, and even though he tried to do good with what he had, this shows how, no matter what you do, a lack of money cannot be overcome. Even throughout the rest of the movie, a lot of the situations of the characters is determined by money. The reason that the Chinese immigrants are working in these poor conditions, the reason that the African street vendors have to be afraid of the police, and the ability for Uxball to combat his cancer is all determined by money. If everyone were financially stable, a lot of the problems that each of the characters face would be solved. Another final main plot device used in this scene and this movie is the idea of the value of the father-son relationship. Uxball, towards the beginning of the movie, is so controlling because he desperately wants to control his kids because they are the only family that mean the most to him. With his brother sleeping with his alcoholic and bipolar wife, there is not much family or people for Uxball to care about other than his kids. In this scene, we see a crucial moment where Uxball tries to save one of the kids who has been exposed to the poisonous gas. He realizes it's too late, and just like he mentally realizes he can't hold on to his kids so tightly earlier in the movie, he decides to place the child back in the arms of the child's father and puts their hands back together, symbolizing both his love for family in general, but also setting up the ending to the movie where he dies next to his child. One narrative pattern that our group picked up on is the idea of trying to do good, but it backfiring. We see that Uxball tries to do a good deed of buying heaters for the cold workers. However, instead of it working, it backfires horribly on him as it ends up killing all the workers. In this, we see a pattern of sadness and misery. We also see the pattern of death, which seems to be the overlying pattern throughout this movie. This one sequence shows that even when trying to do something positive, Uxball experiences something negative. In the scene, Uxball battles his inner demons and struggles to face the reality of what is happening. Since Uxball can communicate with the dead, he sees one man's soul lingering in the room in which all of the other workers have died in.
Money is seen as a token. The more you have, the better you are seen in your community. Also, we see Uxball's passion for his daughter, which explains his willingness to do whatever it takes to provide for his family. This cultural aspect is specific to this movie because families hold a special place in the Latin American culture. There's a spiritual aspect throughout the movie as well. We see that Uxball has a power to be able to communicate with the afterlife. In the Latin American culture, Day of the Dead is a holiday celebrated throughout Mexico, in particular the central and south regions, and by people of Mexican ancestry living in other places, especially the United States. It is acknowledged internationally in many other cultures as well. The multi-day holiday focuses on gatherings of family and friends to pray for and remember friends and family who have died. Biutiful is a very symbolic movie. We see other references to spirituality throughout this movie as well in addition to death. 3 symbols that really stuck out were the repetitive references to owls, black moths, and snow. These symbols are not only just specific to Spanish culture, they are heavy with worldwide superstition. All of these are used to show the idea of spirituality and reality being completely intertwined.
In the end, this scene truly captures the entire spirit of the movie. Uxball is trying to do the right thing but ends up getting beaten in the end. This movie focuses on the negative so much that its purpose as a film is to cause the viewer to have an attitude of thankfulness. Rarely does everything go wrong for people on this earth, and this movie shows what we take for granted in everyday life. Even though Uxball eventually kills these immigrants, has a wife who is sleeping with his brother, and eventually loses to cancer, we see that life goes on. His existence is not in vain, and we still see a positive impact made on the life of his daughter in the end. This movie shows us what the absolute worst would look like so that we can see the good, even if it's small, in our own lives.